For decades, NASA has been one of the most admired and enduring institutions in the United States. It put men on the moon, built the Space Shuttle, and launched far-reaching probes that transformed our understanding of the universe. The agency has symbolized American leadership in science, innovation, and international cooperation. Yet behind the scenes, NASA's trajectory has always been deeply influenced by politics. Changes in presidential administrations don't just adjust the tone, they can reshape entire missions, cancel billion-dollar programs, and reroute decades of research. This reality became especially clear during Donald Trump's presidency. While many remember the administration's bold promises, returning to the moon, building commercial partnerships, and asserting American dominance in space, those actions also triggered ripple effects that continue to challenge NASA today. Given NASA's history and significance, something pivotal is now unfolding in its future because of the lasting impact of Trump's policies. In this video, we'll explore how Trump's presidency reshaped NASA, why the agency is now facing serious trouble, and what that means for the future of American space exploration. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any deep insights into the space industry. Trump's administration took control of NASA at a critical time. The agency was still adjusting from the Obama-era transition away from the Space Shuttle and toward deep space exploration. While President Obama had focused on future missions to Mars and on developing commercial launch providers, Trump redirected NASA's primary objective toward a return to the moon, this time under the Artemis program. Artemis was announced with a highly aggressive timeline: a human landing on the moon by 2024. This deadline was political, not technical. NASA's own experts warned that such a time frame would strain budgets, schedules, and hardware development. But the administration pushed forward, forcing internal reorganizations and reallocating funds away from ongoing Mars initiatives to meet this lunar objective. These changes didn't just shift focus, they triggered structural complications. NASA's human exploration roadmap was uprooted. Teams working on Mars-related research saw funding dry up. Meanwhile, Artemis had to be accelerated before essential technologies like the Lunar Lander, the Space Launch System, SLS, and the Orion spacecraft were fully matured or tested. On top of this, Trump's budget proposals frequently targeted cuts to NASA's Earth Science Division. Several climate-focused satellite missions were defunded, delayed, or canceled outright. These weren't just research projects, they were global monitoring systems that supported everything from weather forecasting to international climate agreements. Cutting them wasn't just a technical setback, it was a signal that Earth science was being deprioritized in favor of politically symbolic missions. The result was a series of contradictions. On one hand, Trump helped open the door to greater commercial involvement in space. Companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin saw unprecedented collaboration and funding. On the other hand, that same commercial shift created legal, logistical, and political chaos. One major example is the Artemis Lunar Lander contract. NASA, following guidance rooted in Trump-era policy, awarded the entire contract to SpaceX. This led to lawsuits from competitors like Blue Origin, which claimed the process was rushed and lacked transparency. The legal disputes delayed Artemis by over a year and exposed the risks of over-reliance on a single contractor in a politically charged environment. Trump's administration also broke with decades of bipartisan tradition in space policy. Historically, NASA had enjoyed broad support across party lines, allowing long-term projects to survive political transitions. But under Trump, NASA became more closely associated with the administration's broader nationalist and isolationist stances. International partnerships, especially in climate and Earth observation programs, were weakened. Agencies in Europe and Asia became more cautious about long-term cooperation, given the volatility of U.S. policy. These political swings created uncertainty, not just for scientists and engineers, but for global partners who rely on NASA's stability. Programs once planned on 10 to 20-year timelines were now constantly revised to meet short-term political goals. Even after Trump left office, the fallout continued. President Biden inherited an Artemis program behind schedule and over budget. He extended the lunar landing timeline to 2025 to 2026 and began restoring funding to Earth science missions. But the dual track, finishing lunar goals while restoring Mars objectives, created a crowded and fragmented roadmap. Every new adjustment risked delaying missions further or cutting programs again. The deeper issue is structural. Trump's administration didn't just change policy, it reshaped how NASA functions. By accelerating public-private partnerships, the White House created a new model in which NASA increasingly outsources core capabilities. While this has undeniably sped up development in some areas like launch costs and lander technology, it has also made the agency dependent on private companies whose priorities may not align with national or scientific goals. There are risks in this model. What happens if a private partner falls behind, shifts its business model, or fails entirely? What if political favoritism influences contract awards? And can long-term missions survive when every election risks a complete change in direction? Critics have also raised concerns about the safety of accelerated missions. Rushed testing and compressed engineering timelines can compromise reliability. NASA's internal reviews have flagged these risks multiple times in relation to Artemis. The fear is that the desire for symbolic milestones, like putting boots on the moon before an election, could undermine safety protocols and scientific rigor. Furthermore, the politicization of Earth science under Trump remains a point of serious concern. The decision to defund or scale back missions related to climate monitoring weakened global environmental data systems at a time when such data is urgently needed. Restoring these programs takes years, and in some cases the damage may be irreversible. Internationally, trust has also been eroded. Trump's America First stance discouraged collaboration. Long-standing relationships with European and Asian space agencies became strained, not just in climate science but in broader space exploration. Joint missions were delayed or canceled. This retreat from collaboration limited NASA's ability to pool global resources for complex missions. Looking forward, NASA faces a complicated future. The Biden administration has tried to stabilize programs, but its own shifting priorities reveal how vulnerable NASA is to political cycles. Long-term projects like Artemis, Mars sample return, and Earth science missions require continuity. But continuity has become nearly impossible in a polarized political landscape. Commercial partnerships are here to stay, and they offer real promise. But they also require a stronger oversight framework to prevent overdependence and to ensure accountability. The balance between innovation and public responsibility must be recalibrated. If political polarization continues, future presidents may treat NASA as a policy tool rather than a scientific institution. Lunar exploration could be prioritized under one administration and canceled under the next. Climate science could be revived or gutted depending on electoral outcomes. These shifts don't just waste money, they risk NASA's global leadership and the morale of its workforce. The long-term consequence may be a weakened, fragmented NASA, one that's constantly reshaped by political winds instead of scientific goals. One that lacks the stable foundation needed to lead humanity into space, not just to the moon, but to Mars and beyond. NASA has always been a symbol of what a nation can achieve when it looks beyond politics and into the future. But if these trends continue, the agency may lose the very qualities that made it great. The effects of Trump's presidency are still echoing across NASA's missions. How the agency adapts or fails to adapt will determine whether it remains a leader in space or becomes a cautionary tale about what happens when science is caught in the crossfire of politics. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.